Klerk came to power in 1989 under apartheid, but later became a key figure in the transition to democracy. In a video shared shortly after his death, he said his views on apartheid had changed significantly since the 80s. But some say it was too little too late. To discuss this further, I am joined by political analyst Sipho Seepe. Thank you very much, sir, for your time on ENCA. Of course, mixed reaction to the death of the former president, the last apartheid president of the country. A memorial service being held today. What would you say, follows his legacy, or what did he leave behind, really, according to you?
Well, the first that there is a need to deploy the police and the heavy security around the memorial service tells it all. That there are certain people who have not forgiven de Klerk for the role he played. So you could actually say he was a divisive character in a sense that the people in this country are very divided in how they look at him. For many of his victims, they feel that he has not assisted in telling the truth. But also, this is the same person that had to be pushed to a corner or told where to get off when he said not so long ago that he does not think that apartheid was a crime against humanity. And most people felt that this was a total insult, given that we still have bodies, people who have been maimed because of apartheid. We still have people's remains that remain unknown, and we still don't have the truth. And for him to say something that has been declared to be a crime against humanity in his twilight years, because this is what he said just last year. So for many people, they felt that the man had not repented. But what is also important is that even when he got the Nobel Prize, there was were divided in this country that he actually deserved a Nobel Prize. They remember quite well that it was during his presidency that we had the Badung massacre. The transition to democracy was filled with the black bodies, and to reward him with a Nobel Prize was almost an insult to those people who had become victims, and also to the struggle against apartheid itself. So this is a picture that would emerge. But you could also say that the fact that he had to release the ANC, some will argue, as Mandela had done, that we cannot actually thank him for that, because apartheid was wrong in the first place, that people like him should not have been banned, they should not have gone to jail. And so to say somebody must be rewarded for doing something that they should not have done in the first place was for Mandela almost an insult to what they stood for.
Yes, especially because, South Africa finding out that this Nobel Peace Prize he had to actually share with Nelson Mandela. He was awarded together with him. But also, Tata Seepe, you speak about that crime against apartheid was not a crime against humanity comment that he made just last year, you said. And then this year, we find out that he's passed away. And then there's this video that's released where suddenly his mind has changed. Was it for you as well very questionable, the timing of the release of this video, where he could not be questioned? He cannot be questioned on what he's saying in that video.
Well, I mean, he could have come to that determination, but it's a bit too late. But when you judge a person, and when you say somebody has gone through a Damascus route, you expect that person to be consistent in their conduct. After he got the Nobel Prize, we didn't see de Klerk being a champion of reparations against black people. We didn't see him being a champion to say it makes no sense that 80% of the people of this country still find themselves squashed in a small part of the land, almost 40%. And so if he had gone through the Damascus experience, we would have expected him to be consistent, to say when we talk about transformation, he'll be leading the idea of transformation. But he did not. Instead, he went to the grave being concerned about white minority rights. He went there concerned about white privilege. So the fact that he says ultimately the crime, he accepts that he asks for apology, does not change the reality on the ground. Black people, even today, they're still marginalized in the economy. Black people today, they're still found in conditions that are fit for animals. black people today still find themselves as pariahs in the land of their birth. So those are the issues that if we were to say he has sanitized his history, he should have been a champion into saying, let us reverse all the disadvantages or work towards reversing the disadvantages that were meted to black people, not through no fault of their own, but just because they happen to be black.
Mr. Seepe, I've run out of time, but I just want to ask you one more question really quickly. Would you say the argument that the state should not be using state funds to honor a man who, was at the forefront at some point of atrocities against other human beings in this country, would you say that argument is actually a good argument to say why are we still celebrating the former president? Why are we still giving him a state memorial?
Well, some people in government will argue that it is not so much about the celebration. It is more about the obligations that they have. Remember, we are a country of laws and regulations. If somebody served as a minister, you would and especially serving while the person is in office, there will be a state funeral. So there are these protocols that have been written. So the problem with not following those protocols is that every time the moment comes, we'll have to get into all sorts of debates. So I think what you see here is that President Ramaphosa has decided to say, instead of getting into those debates, he's going to do what is seen to be expected officially in terms of what government is supposed to do. So it is more of a responsibility, a function that he feels has to be done. And because if we don't do that, then we'll have to debate every time there is a person who has to be buried.